Whew, holy, what a couple of days I've had. What should I even say about what is going on here? I'll tell you what. I harvested one of those very, very large old bears with my bow. And they're so big. Lots of fat on them. And he, man, I shot like I think maybe 2 inches, a little too high. And that was enough to start hell. Kind of sucks. Whatever, survived it. Maybe I'll tell the story another time, share the pictures another time. Because I don't even have them yet. I just finished dealing, but yeah, I shot a little high, which really sucks. I don't like that. And off he went into tangled hell. Your worst nightmare. Pouring rain like you would not believe. So I can't see the blood trail anywhere. I'm guessing I found it one spot. And you're literally on your hands and knees in a tangle from hell and pouring down rain so you can't hear anything. Come on. Sucks. So I bailed out when I got Ruby and brought her back in with me, but she's not trained to track anything, but she knows she hates bears. I took her where the blood was and she's sniffing. And finally she started jerking me to the left into this nasty, nasty shit. I'm on my hands and knees with my bow and her on a leash in the left, not letting her off the leash because they'll bring a fighting, charging bear back to your lap every time if you do. But anyway, I don't need her getting chewed on. And all of a sudden, all hell explodes. Look at that. I'm trying to stand up. I can't stand up. And here's this massive monster frickin' bear about 3, 6, I don't know, maybe 8 feet, 10 feet from my face. And he was pissed. Anyway, it's a long story. But, yeah, tell you what, trying to shoot a huge bear in the face with a bow and arrow under those circumstances really sucks, but I did it. I'll share the story another time. That's what I've been doing, all right? The past couple days. It's been a little chaotic. Anyway, I want to get some voices heard. And a quick note, for maybe a small handful, who knows how many people that might not have read the fine print. I guess we don't have fine print though, do we? If you are a member of or support offended culture in any way, you're not safe here. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about your feelings. If you got some input you want to put in, give her. Somebody might not agree with you, which is absolutely fine here. It's amazing when, what did I do the other day? I was trying to make an example, a couple different items, and I used them as examples. And the point I was trying to get across to the people was how mainstream news, what mainstream news makes you do and makes you, how mainstream news makes you react. And that's easily proven in numerous different topics. That was my main point. I was trying to get across the other day. A handful of people didn't agree with how I said some things, so they instantly go to hating me, calling me names, and demeaning me. Which, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you can't show the world more clearly that you are a member of offended culture. And you have absolute zero communicating skills, which makes you useless to any community. All you are is a dead weight. That's it. You're a crab in a bucket. Why? Well, you imagine how many people write in, come here, state their views. And have you ever seen me get angry because I didn't agree with somebody's views? And demean them and belittle them and try to, what goes on today? People try to cancel people and make them get erased from being heard anywhere, even working, if they do not agree with their views. Isn't that insane? Isn't that weak? So, there you go. It's okay to disagree with people here. It's fine. If you think that way, and somebody here thinks that way, oh well, doesn't mean you're any less of a person, does it? Doesn't mean that anybody's actually doing anything to you, does it? So try not to do things to people that don't agree with you. All right? In my world, in many other people's world, that is your classic poster child for representing a pussy. Just a weak little kitten. You're just a weak little putty tat. All right? Here you go. There's my rant. It's okay to disagree. I don't know where people started doing the cancel thing and hating thing with people they didn't agree with their views. You know, I had somebody, or I guess I'll just say used to be related to me in a way. Never did anything to this person, ever. Never did anything to anybody. And I remember a few years back, whenever it was, I found there's a woman from Texas, a blonde-haired lady, real kind, straight shooter, no bullshit. And she made a presentation to the world about how there's racism being promoted against everybody. And at that time, I wasn't very happy with the Black Lives Matter movement. Still, I'm not a big fan. What are the things they've done and represented, how they've dealt, what the owner did with all those multi-million-dollar homes, etc. There's a bunch of bad strikes anyway. So I copied that video, which was a very awesome delivery. I can't remember. And I put it on social media on Facebook. And then I couldn't help it at the time. I went, there, ram that up your Black Lives Matter's asses. Because it stated some facts that are easy to dig up. So this person that I guess used to be related to me in a way didn't like my view. So she went to screenshotting what I had said and then put it on her social media and said, this is why I don't do this, and this is the people I distance myself from, and this man is a racist, misogynistic, what else? What else was I? Womanizing, homophobe, racist, and went down the whole, the gamut of your typical insults people use on people today. And went to attempting to label me as all these nasty things just because she didn't agree with my views on a topic. How crazy is that? Obviously, there's a lot of mental health issues there. For real, there is, but it seems to be the classic go-to for people who don't agree with somebody else. They go to using all those classic words that are meant to tear you down and label you as something nasty when it's not true, all because they don't agree. It's weak, right? That's the Pussy Club. Okay, that's it for that one. More people being heard now. Thankfully, I'm here today and I'm not shredded into pieces. This is titled Predator-Like Being. Hi again, Steve. This is the experience I promised writers in the comment section from a prior video that I would share regarding a predator-like being. It was sometime around 06 or 07, and my kids and my friends were having a campfire in the yard right outside our home. We live outside of our town and have wooded areas all around us on the edge of the Adirondack Mountains. Off the deck of the house was a fire ring with a small above-ground pool next to that. Our property is lined in white pine trees, which are quite big and very branchy. The woods behind the pool go back quite a ways, and the pine trees are continuous to the woods. I just brought out marshmallows for the fire and sat in a chair with my back to the side of the property with the trees leading to the woods to my right. It was still light out. And I sat listening to the chatter from the kids, gazing into the woods, trying to relax. There was no wind or breeze, and it was a very quiet night. I noticed a movement in the trees to my right, up in the branches that were just behind the pool. I stared at the area because I saw something move, but nothing was there. As I stared, I started to see some kind of movement, but it was like the branches and pine needles moved instead of an animal or being, which didn't make sense. I watched for about a minute when the movement leapt, for lack of a better word, to the next tree closer to us. There was no noise and no swaying of branches like one would expect if there was weight on the tree. As I watched, I noticed what I was seeing. Like the pixels in a digital picture were moving. I made out the shape of something that had arms and legs and a head, but not quite human-like. This shape was hunched down on the branch, with one arm holding the tree trunk. The legs bent like it was squatting, and it felt like we were being watched, even though I could see no face or any other description. It was just pixelated movements in the shape of a being. It had moved closer to us and was in the tree on our side of the pool now when I realized how close it was. I told the kids it was time to go inside. They fussed a bit, but I insisted they go inside right then. My son saw me looking up in the trees and asked what I was looking at, and of course told me it was nothing. I did not take my eyes off the shape, and as soon as the kids all got up and moved toward the deck to go inside, the shape moved from the branch it was on back to the trees as it first came in on. The movement was so fast, so effortless, and so silent that I got scared then. It vanished into the woods, moving from tree limb to tree limb, and was gone in a matter of seconds. Nothing I know of can move like that, and nothing I know of exists to fit that description. I've never seen it again, and we still live in the same house. We all have eerie feelings about the woods behind the house, and that feeling remains with us to this day. Anytime we walk through the wooded area, we have sections of the woods that we do not venture into, for no apparent reason except that uneasy feeling we all get when out there. We have learned to listen to that feeling and go the other direction. For now, I still find ways to enjoy the wilderness and spend time in the backcountry, although I am always aware of the slightest movements and silent areas. I do not want to be frightened out of my happy places, but I totally understand why some people choose to stay out of the forest after these types of encounters. Thanks for giving us the platform for support and to share our experiences. Deb Balo. Deb, that is a creepy-ass, what would be life-changing experience for anybody. Anybody. How do you go in the forest and act the same ever again after witnessing something like that, right? And I'm sure most everybody's probably seen the movie Predator. Where did they get the idea for that character from, right? Where did they get the idea for that character from? Just like years ago, a friend of mine said that Star Trek, all the things that happened on the old Star Trek, they all came true. They all came true later on in life. Most of the things they could do on the movie, the series Star Trek, right? Where they come up with all these things back in the day. Be safe out there, and I'm so happy to hear that you are connected with your feelings and you act on them. That's what we're supposed to do with every decision in life. What do we got here? I don't know, but I'm going to read it. This is titled Sabe, the 70s and Beyond. Howdy from Big Sky, Montana. My name is Alvin Scott Barlow Jr., and I've been enjoying your podcast for years now. You can use my name if you like. I appreciate all you do and your words on some of the crazy things that are going on in our known and perhaps unknown universe. In my childhood, this would have been in the early 70s. I was raking the moss green shag carpet in our sunken living room. There's the deadly combo, right? Shag carpet, sunken living room. So my mother could vacuum. I finished my chore and relaxed on our burnt orange lazy boy chair. My father was packing our white panel van with our camping gear. We're getting the house clean so we could have something nice to return to after a few days of car camping in the Arizona forests. So it'd be my mother, father, sister, and I that would make our way to the Apache Indian Reservation amongst the White Mountains of Arizona's wild country. It would take us a few hours to travel north, up in elevation, and east of our Phoenix home. And we would end up by Crescent Lake for our campsite. After camp was set up, we would fish and catch our lunch. I decided to roam off on my own, and of course, as long as I was within shouting distance, my parents were fine with my little adventures away from them. I walked around the lake. I saw a large granite boulder and a ponderosa pine tree right behind it, and I thought, well, I can climb that boulder. I'm about 5 years old, so I made my way over to this gray, rough boulder and ascended it. Upon getting to the top, I leaned on the pine tree to get my balance, and I stood up on this gray mass of rock. I was just a bit away from the tree, standing on this stone, when I realized on the other side of a branch, only about 8 inches from me, stood a tall, hairy, naked man. Now I'm 5 years old. I have no concept of Bigfoot, Sabe, Sasquatch, etc. I do not feel threatened, and in my mind, I thought, well, this must be normal for there to be a tall, hairy, naked man in this wilderness. We stared at each other for some time and just went silent and just were silent. Eventually, my father yelled out that lunch was ready, and he came around the corner by this time. By this time, the creature had run away, not making much of any sound. I walked back with him, and we enjoyed our lunch of fish, potatoes, and fruit juice. I did not say anything to my parents, for I did not want to look stupid, or I thought everyone knew that there were tall, hairy, naked men out in the wild spaces. We would spend another 2 nights there, and I would play around in the Bigfoot prints by the large gray boulder and keep my mouth shut on the sighting. I felt safe and had no concept of how unusual or irregular my sighting might have been. Eventually, we make our way back to our nice, cozy, clean home, and in the next week I would see a documentary on Bigfoot. I think it might have been one of those, In Search of documentaries, the ones with Leonard Nimoy narrating. He played Spock on the popular Star Trek series. Anyway, there's a part of the documentary where people had harassed these creatures, so they came back and harassed the people in the cabin they were staying at. I would have nightmares for 2 years thinking this creature was going to kidnap me from my parents. But I did not let this create a fear of nature, or hiking, or camping. It actually spawned a great interest in learning more about this creature and other strange things that might be in our known and unknown universes. So I would read what books I could, watch slideshows and documentaries on said subjects. Eventually, as a young man, I would land a job as a housekeeper/room attendant in our world's first national park, Yellowstone. Of course, as a young man, I had a fond interest in the opposite sex, camping, backpacking, and going to see live music. I stepped away from my interest in cryptids and had more of a focus in natural things and healing plants. I was in pursuit of the knowledge of Rocky Mountain medicinal plants and becoming a herbalist. And on my spare time, I would wildcraft herbs outside the park and make natural medicines for a variety of ailments. In hindsight, I did see some strange tree structures way back in the wilds of Yellowstone and the national forests of the area, but did not pay too much attention to it. Being more interested in what was grown in nature and perhaps my own hormones was directing me at times too. Now in 2002, I'd landed a job in Glacier National Park as one of their red bus drivers/tour guides. I was on a training day with one of the other guides. They always make you go out with another guide whom is giving a tour before they set you on your own. We were doing a trip into the Waterton National Park in Canada. And on our way driving out by the Belly River, and this is in early summer, the river is high with water and the currents are quite strong. I saw another Sabe walking on the other side of the river. Wow, I was not in the mode of even thinking of this creature, more interested in the medicinal plants and such, but alas, another sighting. A few winters ago, I drove not far from the cabin I rent here in Big Sky to Specimen Creek in Yellowstone for a cross-country ski. I was the only one there. And when I get my body moving, I'll sometimes burp quite loudly. Sure enough, I'm cruising with my flat boards on this trail, burping away. I get about 1.5 miles in, and there's a tree across the trail, and it's a fairly wooded area, and the creek was right below me, and I'm about 5 feet above the ground on this white, cold, fluffy stuff. I thought, well, I could take my skis off and post hole around this tree and climb up the steep wooded hill behind that, but would have quite a steep descent on my way back. If I broke something like a bone, etc., no one here would help. No one here to help. So I decided to turn around. Now, I've spent a lifetime playing in our wilds, and I am very familiar, like you, with the sounds of these spaces. And I can track as well. I'm not a hunter, more of a gatherer. Anyway, I'm making my way back, and after my second very loud burp, I got what we all know as samurai chatter from what sounded like at least 2 of these creatures talking back and forth. It went on for a good 20 seconds or more. Of course, I made it out safely. I've never really felt too threatened by these creatures, and I realize I have probably had more interactions with them in the past, but my mind was not on it. So I may have just brushed them off. I'm more focused on many things now in my life and continue my research in this area, and I pay close attention when I'm hiking or skiing in the wilds of our greater Yellowstone ecosystem. I can continue to read what I can and listen to others when the opportunity arises. I'm fortunate to have a job as a tour guide and herbalist in this area, so I still spend quite a bit of time in this wild spaces. I shall let you know if I have any other experiences. Thanks again for all you do. Good luck on your hunts and adventures out there. Be safe and healthy in all your journeys. And if you have any interest in Yellowstone, this wild spaces, Rocky Mountain medicinal plants, feel free to drop me a line and I can share that information with you. Wishing you, your friends, and family all the best, Alvin. There you go, Alvin. You're living the dream, man. You're living the dream. You're living a healthy frickin' existence. You know what I would do if I were you? I would hook myself up with a GoPro or something, and I'd just make a YouTube channel, and I'd go taking people out and showing them. That would be so popular, especially today with all the dog shit we have forced on us from Western medicine. That would go off huge, man. Why don't you do it? I'll share the shit out of that channel. If you want to go out and video record your knowledge and what you see out there, that'll help people, right? That's all. That's what rocks it out today, is what helps people, right? And there you go, another member of the club. 2 sightings and heard them, and that's not that uncommon, right? Yeah, keep filling us in for sure. For sure. That was a long one. Like I said before, I'll read the long ones in the beginning, no problem. And then somebody emailed me and blew a gasket because they accused me of not reading somebody's long email, and then went to trashing on me because of the time it took them to write it in, and they're hoping to get it read. I'm like, holy shit, Karen, take it easy. I don't mark them as read. I save them for later when I can read the long ones in the beginning. Right? I just don't start to read the book-sized ones at the end of my sit-down because they're too long for that time of the day. Got it? Bam. Who else? What else do we got? Where am I? These are fairly recent, I think. Girl Scout Camp Experience. This is the title of this email. Hello, Steve and Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing everyone's experiences and your wonderful life as well. My name is Regina. I'm 69 years old. I grew up in Houston, Texas. My childhood was pretty rough, and I was always looking for a way to get away. Thank goodness I became a Girl Scout when I was young and eventually went camping with my troop. The woods and outdoors became my peaceful place. Many times our troop would go to Peach Creek Girl Scout Camp in New Caney, Texas. It was wonderful with creeks, horses, and so many wonderful trails to explore. Looking back as an adult, I can see that I had encounters. Mostly just that feeling that someone was watching me as I explored. Sometimes I would hear suspicious sounds with no one with me, as I often explored alone. One time when I was by myself, I lost all memory until I was back at the camp and the adults were talking to me. Apparently they had been looking for me for a while. Even now, this experience is embedded in my mind, and I often wonder what happened. I was not hurt or injured. Such have a blank period of time. I was never afraid at any point. I have no memory of seeing any figures in the woods, but I believe there was something. Stay safe always, Steve, and take care of that fabulous Sarah and the kids. I know you will. Wish I had a man like you as a child to look up to. No nonsense approach to life from Austin, Texas. I love Austin, Texas. I've been there, and I appreciate all the kind words. Yeah. It's funny, sometimes some emails don't sound overall significant, but when somebody writes in of the feelings, you got to understand how much of an impact it is when you have those true feelings when you're alone in the woods. It's not just I feel kind of weird today. Something's looking at me. It's 10 times, it's way more intense than that, right? And people don't forget it. They don't forget it. I appreciate you taking your time to write that in. Now, all right, now this is an email. This is a pretty long one. I'm going to go for it, and then I'm going to carry on because I got to get ready to go up north now. I'm so tired right now. Whatever, no complaining. This is from someone who I believe has an absolute enormous amount of information on these people. I can't remember if I can use his name or not, so I might leave it out unless it says use it in the email, all right? Until another time. This is titled One Explanation for Why the Cover-Up. All right, here we go. Steve, you want to know why the bastards are trying to get everyone to think these are some lost earthbound hominids, products of evolution? Assuming that the chapter is more or less correct on our history that talks about the giants, their creators, pseudo-parents, fallen ones, the hybrids that have animal in them like Dogman, Goatman, 200 total types, and possibly Sasquatch. We can easily dissect what has been done to cover up that history and extrapolate reasons. It is not hard. On the superficial level, if you can get people into opposing camps with neither being 100% correct and have them, quote, believing, end quote, the version they glom onto and fighting with the other camp, you have accomplished a great deal. No doubt. People are lazy and willing to take matters at face value, believing what they consider to be experts, and just quote them without question. No shit. How brutal is that? Just look at the whole COVID fiasco. For the sake of simplicity, let's just consider 3 institutions that have a stake in controlling the narrative around these creatures: religion, academia, and governments. A guy called Darwin came along and hatched a theory. That theory, though never proven with regard to origins of mankind, has become accepted fact. Darwin himself would likely be highly put off by this idea, yet here we are. It is opposed to another idea as well and gives secular people who disdain religion something to oppose religion with. Check. Then you have religion and creationism. Well, apparently, they have deep disdain for the secular crowd who has glommed onto evolution. Evolution in their eyes does not exist, period. God created everything once, and that was that. 2 opposing camps who nearly hate each other. Enter governments. They have their own history going back to the kingships of the first city-states. Those kings were originally gods, then demigods, then humans. Who are the gods? If they were the fallen ones, the answers to a lot of questions become a lot easier. Just keep that thought in the back of your head as you learn. Demigods were human/god hybrids. What were the Nephilim? We're going to find out more about the giants with further DNA work. It gets a little complicated because there were actually several distinct genetic blends. For now, we'll just consider them as a single hybrid species. Governments, academia, and religion work more or less together to control the history that they do not want the public to be aware of. The era of the fallen ones and the giants. This has been scrubbed mostly by the accepted canon of the Bible. Hold on a minute. Governments won't acknowledge that giants ever existed, period. They won't comment on that deep history at all. It basically doesn't exist. Academia, with their convenient evolution fact, have divorced themselves entirely from this inconvenient history. Any reference to it is absolutely thrown into the box called myth and legend. Brush the hands together and that's all there is. That's all there is to it. There's an elephant in the room. There's a turd on the dining room table. And no, not one of these institutions would ever acknowledge that. It is in all of their best interests to keep that dirty little secret out of the public domain. It's about control. It always has been. Constantine made Christianity official. The Vatican had all of the scrolls and books and documents. They had to decide what could and could not be canon. Early on, the chapter was mostly scrubbed with just a few references that completely lacked context. The Vatican has done an excellent job of convincing the faithful public that only the Vatican could ever understand these matters, and that is where it was left. The Vatican put down the foundation for governments and academia to lie and be convincing. It's the biggest lie in the history of the human race. While some understand why the flood actually happened, most Christians are told repeatedly the flood was for our sins. We are responsible for the flood. It was the fallen ones and the hybrids that brought the flood, not us. Corruption of the flesh was really unacceptable genetic contamination. Nothing here is cut and dried. We're likely also the result of genetic engineering and are not pure as some would like to think. The historical records that were shunned as non-canon tell the story as it really happened. And that is incomplete to a degree because the Vatican sent out people to destroy records. Some records were hidden away to prevent destruction, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Today, historians are exposing all this, and the Vatican is losing its grip on maintaining their historical narrative. This impacts both academia and governments. All three are steadfastly refusing to let go of that false history, those sets of narratives. I'd be lying myself if I tried to pretend there is not impacting global order. I would be lying myself if I tried to pretend this is not impacting global order. At the same time, I would never claim it is the sole reason for the chaos we see today. Much of it is just a shift in the global economic dominance as the East yanks it out of the hands of the West. I've really simplified this whole thing. It is actually much, much more complex, but this is the core of it more or less. And the version we got in school growing up was highly sanitized. The extra capabilities that made Sasquatch and other hybrids have come from the Order of the Watchers. Someday I'll write about them so that those discrete aspects can be seen and understood, and the mystery of those capabilities is removed. Higher orders, but without the discernment and decision capacity that generally is for the greater good that humans have to utilize or not. We have free will, so some choose to heed, some choose not to heed, and some don't understand enough to make a decision and just follow the crowd they are with at the moment. Add to that mix the fact that giants mixed with humans and these bloodlines still exist, and you begin to get the picture. The last observation is fact, a matter of record. I met one. Since then, I've seen these same features and many others. They do not have the extra capabilities that some Sasquatch exhibit. The whole thing sounds too simplistic. It sounds cliche. It sounds like another BS narrative someone made up. I wanted it to be different. I used to think UFO were this crazy thing that had nothing to do with our history. I thought that it was a mysterious alien agenda. I wanted it all to be different. But after over 30 years of looking at this every way I could come up with and going for my own verifications because I did not trust myself, my own judgment, I cannot call it anything but what I just outlined. I tried to disprove the record using current academic studies to understand one aspect of the agricultural revolution that stood out as an anomaly, absolutely requiring scientific explanation. The sudden prolific dominance of polyploid cereals and grains. These plants went from wild plants with very tiny seed heads that could not be easily harvested and utilized to plump, huge seed heads that were readily available for harvest and use. This occurred across many different grains and cereals in a very short time period. The explanations from academia are all over the place. There is zero consensus, zero. But the record is clear, and we were given those by others according to the record. We were taught agriculture according to the record. What did the fallen ones do well here? I suggest reading Zechariah Sitchin's work on the Mesopotamian records. Zecharia, capital Sitchin. Understand the speculates about where they came from, but he does not speculate about what they did while here. The three institutions who maintain somewhat different narratives all do it for the same reason, to keep the public from knowing the truth. They will run all kinds of interference to do so. They work together and separately And yes, the intelligence apparatus is highly involved at running interference and obfuscation. They pay people to pull their shit. As in that sack of shit doctor who stares at dermal ridges. I have 30 years of monitoring those bastards, watching their motivations and what they did to really talented people, bracket scientists, end bracket, in the field. And at one point we, intelligence and I, got into it. I hate the uppers, the scourge of the earth. Start to understand why I don't write books. My approach to studies I came up with on my own. It does not match anything out there in the so-called research community. I did not study what the governments did, but rather studied what the UFO did and how it became obvious that a lot of it was a response to what we were doing, especially in the realm of nuclear weapons. We always have had oversight. One time that oversight became involved in our affairs and it went sideways. Giants and animal hybrids resulted from this chapter. Today, we're trying to figure out how all of this came about. The answers are, for better or worse, in the records. What the hell else do we have? Nothing. Speculation, and if that isn't enough, lies. I find it interesting that the world is suddenly coming unglued while we're opening this up. I'm not suggesting cause, but it is interesting. Yes, it is, isn't it? That's the end of the email, and I'm going to hold back on the name just because for now. I believe I have a bunch of other emails from this individual who I trust. All right? Sorry, I heard something out there. I got a bunch of meat out there and stuff, so I don't need to be attracting it. Just if we had a bear, I chased down a great big bear up the road coming home from a dinner last night. So my senses are a little on alert. maybe my senses are still a little on alert from having to deal with what I just dealt with. Now, I appreciate the shit out of you, especially sending that in. Absolutely appreciate the time that you put in with your lifetime and your willingness to share it all with the people through me. And we'll be hearing more and sharing more, right? Soon. There you go, you guys. Keep your own wheels turning. And like I said a million times before, this topic is such an easy one to deliver to the people who are willing to listen that we are absolutely being controlled, led down the wrong path in this lifetime, absolutely being lied to, misled. It sucks dick, right? Sucks, but the way to overpower it is to make sure you maintain being able to speak out loud and freely to the people and make sure that every single person gets heard, right? And not to go through life being an absolute useless pussy because you get so upset that somebody didn't agree with my views. We must get them off of the internet and annihilate their ability to make income too, because I don't agree with what they say. Said no rational thinking, strong human being ever. Never. Right? What should I rant about next? What should I rant about next? I don't know, not too much. I'll leave on this note. I will leave on this note that today, hopefully you could point it out to your children and show your children the fact that if there is a leader today, I don't give a shit what country you're in. If there is a leader or a group of leaders in a country that promote, financially support the active war in any way, that is the number one example of an absolute failure or a group of failures. When you actually take money from good people and put it towards killing other people, you are an absolute failure, no matter what the excuse is. Right? That goes for who starts, who prevents it from ending, the whole 9 yards, right? There isn't, yeah, I'll bite my lip. I am what I am, although some people might not agree with my delivery at times, which I really don't give a flying shit. Just let it be known, if I die tomorrow, that I am 100% a supporter of the truth and freedom of speech. And I'm anti-bullshit. All right? And I'm not scared of nothing. I'm not scared of no human being. Now, I do not delete people from the channel. I do not unsubscribe people. And I do not delete people's comments. All right? Just so you know, there's a lot of people that get unsubscribed from the channel. It's not me. The owners of YouTube, I wouldn't be surprised if whoever they are, they probably do have horns coming out of their forehead, hidden in their hair, for sure. It's kind of sad we got a tiptoe, right? We got a tiptoe on here on this platform to deliver to all of you good people. Got a tiptoe. It sucks. Well, why you just leave YouTube? Because nobody's leaving YouTube. I believe these videos are loading automatically onto Rumble now. For the most part, everybody's staying here. Right? We're getting literally millions of people are watching and listening to all these good people speak through me. Millions. And then I have to leave the same message, the same emails, the same knowledge getting shared in a couple other places, and there might be only a couple thousand. So there you go. So for all you other people who get angry at me for feeding this platform, well, right now it's kind of got me by the nuts, doesn't it? Right? What are you going to do? Right? Okay, everybody, okay, all you millions of people learning truth here, valuable truth, I'm out of here. Right? Millions of people aren't going to go over and follow me anywhere. Not yet, anyway. Not today. So that's why. Now, share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get heard word for word, whether I agree with you or not. All right? And you get treated with respect. The door is wide open. But the second you come in here and start shitting on people, you're going to get gobbled up and spit out. And it's going to be a real shitty awakening when you finally figure it out that nobody gives a flying F about your feelings here, all right? It's just not a safe place for offended culture. It's not. It never will be. There you go. Here I go. Now I got to get ready to go on another adventure up north, and hopefully a safe one. Hopefully this last episode was my only one for another handful of years. I've had a handful, man. I'll tell you what. I shared a lot of my hunt stories. I've had some hair-raising close encounters. Usually the nightmare is caused from somebody else. But I guess I had it coming. I screwed up on my shot. I was probably 2 inches too high with that arrow. Maybe 3. Damn it. It's caused a lot of grief. But I fixed it. But it still caused a lot of grief and a hair-raising shitty experience. Hope at least me and the dog lived through it, right? I'll share the picture another time. But anyway, there you go, you guys. Sarah still has her. I don't know, maybe she's got these, still has these. This is the black camo. I like that one. And this one I think I still have one of each. I'm taking on my hunt with me at Mirth. I think she still has them left, I think. Hope so. You go check if you want them. She still has a sale on. I think. She says something, there's some Black Friday thing. I don't even know. What's Black Friday? I don't even know when it is. Is it after Christmas or something? Is it Boxing Day? I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know what it is. I know you're laughing. I don't know what it is. Black Friday. Everything on the planet goes on for sale or some damn thing. I think she's got some idea for Black Friday, I think. I don't know. Anyway, her link for her store is in the description below. She's got a bunch of stuff on sale there till, I do know it's till the end of November for sure anyway. I'm out here. Babbled enough. I gotta get ripping. Solo. To the north I go. And I'm bringing all you guys with me. I'm gonna bring the internet again too. See what I can pull off. Unless it's minus 5,000. Get your experiences in. Get your knowledge in. Alright? I'll be back.